Greetings and salutations. Dr. Monica here, the unapologetically authentic encourager, coming to you with another Words of Wisdom. As you know, I am the author of Wounds of Wisdom, and you know you can get that copy of this book from drmonicajackson.com. And stay on for a little while because I'll be having an offer here for a discount given the Thanksgiving holiday. As you know, this is Thanksgiving week, and I'm only going to be here on this Tuesday. It's Thursday. I am going to be, as they say, lapping up the turkey, the dressing, the collard greens, the peach cobbler, sweet potato cake, 7-Up cake. Yes, I'm going to cook all of that and then some, and I'm going to enjoy it. And I hope you are going to be enjoying your Thanksgiving as well. I want to come on here today and talk about a conversation that I had with a pastor a few weeks ago, and I was trying to figure out how to deliver this. I promise you that this message today, it's going to offend some people. It's also going to free some people. So tune in. If you read the book, Wounds of Wisdom, you know that there's a chapter in the book entitled Church Wounds. And you also know, if you heard me speak at various different platforms, that I offer courses. And the number one course that people want is overcoming church wounds. And the second is overcoming family wounds. If you heard me speak last week at the She Said Yes to Herself Unapologetically Summit, I also said that if our families are wounded and messed up, our churches are going to be wounded and messed up. So we have to figure that out and resolve that issue. But let me get back to the conversation I had with this pastor a couple of weeks ago. It was a very, freeing conversation. It was a discouraging conversation. And it was a concerning conversation. When we had this conversation, he said to me, as we were talking about my book that he's currently reading, he said that the conversation he's going to have with me, he would never say publicly. He would never speak it to some people. And the reason why is because he says he doesn't want the church to look bad, and the church already has a bad rap, and he doesn't want to contribute to that. But think about that. What that said to me is, okay, well, where's the accountability? Where do we hold churches and leaders accountable? And why can't we? Why can't we? But it just subscribes to some of the things that I say in my book about turning a blind eye. He talked about accountability. And that there's a situation I talk about in my book where I was just surprised. No, I shouldn't say surprised, just kind of concerned that a certain pastor knew about some of the things that I was experiencing and won't approach and deal with some of the people or the other pastors that he's in these circles with to address the issue. This particular pastor I had a conversation with said, no, that's not going to happen. And the reason why is the brotherhood of pastoralship is more important than their sheep. It's more important for them to fit into their clique and club of pastoralship than it is to resolve or address one sheep's issue. Think about that. It's not just the church. This is even in the workplace. So that set me free because it only confirmed some of the things that I said about pastors and individuals who lack proper leadership that are in leadership roles. They don't want to deal with conflict. They don't want to rock the boat because it's more important to them to remain in good standing with their peers than it is to do what's right sometimes. So they ignore it. Think about that. So hopefully that set somebody free, but I know that's going to offend somebody. The other thing is I talked about in my book about a letter that I received from a pastor basically kicking me out of church. And this pastor I was having a conversation with said, I'm not surprised. He said, here's the reason why. You are a very intelligent woman. You think, you speak, you don't just go along with. And he said, many pastors, or most pastors, want dumb sheep. Those are just going to follow. Think about that. Think about that, people. We often hear about submitting, but what are we submitting to? Are you submitting to a title, the environment, or are you standing and upholding whatever goes on? That's why a lot of people flee. That's why a lot of people don't speak up. Then he talked about the psychology. He says there's a whole psychology of church leadership, pastoral leadership. And if you think about it, as we go up in the church or grow up in the church, as I did and many of you, there's a lot of a fear factor. There's a lot of guilt factor, intimidation, make you feel uncomfortable at times, and then labeling as this is what God says. But if you heard me speak, I am in a season of questioning. We absolutely don't know, KNOW, a lot of things. We accept some things because we've been taught. We don't know anything in that Bible if it's true. We don't know if there's a heaven or a hell. We just accept it and believe it. But what if some of the things we're taught is wrong? What if? And that's uncomfortable for some people. And the reason why, it's easier to stay and continue doing what you've always been doing than to question some things. But those very things and lack of questioning are the very things that are contributing to church wounds and problems. Think about that. So again, I hope that this message has set someone free, clarified some things for some people, and make you look at your wounds and release them. I know I have released them. But this conversation a couple of weeks ago really just helped me release a little bit more. And I'm grateful for that conversation. I will never mention who that pastor is, but I thank him so much for the courage to speak to me and share truth. If you've seen me post, the truth isn't always easy to hear, read, or deliver, but nevertheless, the truth is still the truth. If the truth is something that you can't negate or debate, and you definitely can't negate or debate anybody's experiences, don't let anybody negate or debate your experiences and your truths. I had two conversations with young men, and then I'll close. And because I'm a Black woman, and because the young man was a Black man, he said, you know what? Pastoring is the Black man's last hustle. Like I said, that's offensive. And I asked him why. He said, well, it's the only position that you can be in leadership and lead people without any qualifications. And people follow you. People follow you blindly. He has a point there. Now, what I'm saying here, for those who are good pastors, good churches, this makes it bad for you. But guess what? If you are a good church, a good pastor, then you need to hold some of these other pastors of these churches accountable. And the pew, you need to hold yourself accountable first and foremost, as well as the pastor. Because if you're submitting to leadership that's unethical, that's manipulative, that's deceptive, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. So I want to read Words of Wisdom number 24 from my book. Avoid aligning with what is wrong and do not justify wrongdoing for loyalty's sake. A lot of people just stay there because they're loyal to the institution, the environment, the pastor, the leadership, and they're afraid to make changes. So I'm going to close right now. As I always say, whatever you do, don't allow anyone to disturb your peace, and don't you disturb anyone's peace. Have an amazing Thanksgiving and have a peaceful Thanksgiving. Have a peaceful day and the rest of your week. Enjoy.